Hey everybody, it's Jen here on Leo and Lou Facebook Live, Essential Oils Education, Tree Oils. Thanks for bearing with me. I know I'm starting a little later. I just walked in the door from physical therapy, which is good because I have chronic lower back pain and I don't use pharmaceuticals. So it's a new journey for me. Thanks for bearing with me. I also want to let y'all know that after last week's session, which I know was lengthy, and then looking at the material that I wanted to cover today, I've decided to break this class apart into two separate sections. So we're going to talk about some of the tree and root oils today. I see that someone's watching, but I don't know who it is, so please say hi in the comments so I can see who you are. We're going to break up the content. I can't talk about all the tree oils today. Y'all would be falling asleep. As I was looking at all of them, I realized firstly that we have, let's see, 4 categories of tree oils. The conifers, the myrtles, the resins, and then some others. And then there were several oils that were from trees, but that could be classified as spices. So I've decided to do a separate class just on spices. And today, right now, we're just going to talk about the conifers and maybe the myrtles depending on time, because I'm starting a little late and my daughter goes to gymnastics on Tuesday afternoons. It'll depend. We'll see how far we get. I also don't want to overwhelm anybody because it is a lot of info. So there are 13 tree oils, and I broke them apart into those categories of the conifers, the myrtles, the resins, and then the other ones, and then, you know, the spices we'll do another time. So I'm thinking I'll come back around 3:30 today to do the resins and the other oils, if that's cool with y'all. Again, these recordings always are saved on my Leo and Lou page, so you can access them at any time. Thanks for being with me. And I hope this is informational and interesting to you. When I wrote my post, I wrote, "Come learn with me," and I really do appreciate that. I'm not the only one who finds this really interesting and wants to learn more about the beautiful plants around us and how we can reconnect to the earth by using them in the ways that they're supposed to be used. So let's get started. First of all, I want to say a general rule of thumb regarding these oils is that you really shouldn't take any tree oils internally. There are some exceptions, but when you think about them just in your brain, don't think about them as an internal oil. The resins are okay. Anything that comes from a resin is okay to take internally. And there is one conifer that's okay to take internally, and it's Siberian Fir. That's a new oil for doTERRA, but all of the rest of them are not for internal use. And I'll repeat that a few times also, just so we remember. When I looked at the chemical profiles of all these tree oils, they all have a really diverse range of chemical profiles, you know, outside of where they fall in relation to the plant family that they belong to. So if you're interested in organic chemistry and understanding the plants that way, doTERRA has just released the Essential Oils Chemistry Handbook, which is free to download, and it really is mostly digestible, even for someone without a scientific background, like yours truly. All right, so we'll start with the conifer oils and go in alpha order, the first of them being Arbor vitae. I have my giant box with me today because there are so many oils. That's my big oils box. It's got 3 shelves and it's full. I love these oils. Arbor vitae is part of the Conifers Cypress family, and Arbor vitae is an oil that I really enjoy the smell of. If you took advantage of BOGOs the last couple times, Arbor vitae was one of the oils offered there. I love the smell of Arbor vitae. It reminds me of summers in Arkansas. I'm not sure why, but because they're not native to Arkansas. They are actually native to the Pacific Northwest and Canada. So that's actually where one of the domestic oils that doTERRA sources is Arbor vitae. The oil comes from the steam of the heartwood. The heartwood is the wood that's like deeply, deeply inside of the tree. And the Latin name for Arbor vitae means to sacrifice. So I thought that that was really interesting, just as the origin of the tree. It comes from the heart and it's sacrificial in a way. Arbor vitae is a really cool wood because as a growing tree, the chemicals that it produces naturally preserve itself. So that's why it's a wonderful oil to use when you're cleaning wood things. This is actually, I use Arbor vitae or cedar wood, which we'll talk about in a minute, to clean any wood furniture in my house because you know I don't use toxic cleaners. I make my own. There's actually a really cool green cleaning challenge going on with doTERRA right now. Y'all should check it out. I've been posting their daily challenges. Anyway, back to Arbor vitae. It falls on in the category of restorative. It's a restorative oil, and it supports the immune system as well as the skin. I think because it's able to protect itself and regenerate itself, that's why it's so powerful to those two systems. It's a really powerful cleanser. It's also a natural insect repellent. Again, because as a tree, that's part of the tree preserving itself, is not allowing itself to get eaten by pests. It's a wood preservative, of course, and it's also antibacterial. It is not recommended for internal use, so if you're going to use it as an antibacterial oil, put it in the diffuser. It smells amazing. You could also dilute and apply it topically wherever you're having the issue. So if you were having bacteria, wherever the bacteria is on your body that you want to treat, just dilute it and put it near there. Emotionally, it's the oil of divine grace. It addresses the need for one to control every outcome in their life. Arbor vitae means tree of life, so it means just relax and let it flow. Things are going to, nature wins. Nature's in control. We really have little control when you think about it. So that's Arbor vitae. It smells really cedar-ish. I love its smell. Speaking of cedar, we're going to move on to cedar wood. Here's cedar wood. Cedar wood smells also like cedar. It actually comes from western red cedar. And its Latin name is Juniper virginiana, which means it's related to juniper berry, which is another conifer that we're going to talk about also. But cedar wood is actually in the Cypress family as well, and they get the oil from the steam from the wood or the bark of the tree. It is a stabilizing oil because it has high in sesquiterpene alcohols, and it's also soothing because of those sesquiterpenes. And we kind of talked about sesquiterpenes last time. Those are the more complex and powerful of the terpenes. I don't want to get too much into that, but what you need to know is that it's stabilizing and soothing. It also affects the nervous system and skin because it's soothing and stabilizing. So anytime you hear that stabilizing, that kind of infers an emotional benefit there. It's also a natural insect repellent. It is antiseptic to both the urinary and the pulmonary systems. It can help acne because it subdues oily secretions. It's also antifungal, which makes it really good for treating acne. So this would be a wonderful oil to add to your toner or anything that you're putting on your face regularly if you are dealing with acne. It also helps calm strong emotions, and that's where the stabilizing nature of it comes from. All of these tree oils, you can think about what an actual tree is. It's rooted into the ground. It's in one place. It may sway and bow with the wind, but it's not flitting about all crazy. So if you feel like you're flitting about and you need to get rooted, reach for a tree oil. I know some people have tree oil allergies. I would invite you to look closer into that to see what actual trees you are allergic to. If it's the conifers and the cypress family, then there are other tree oils that you can use. If it's the resins, then there are other trees that you can use. So if you are, I know some good friends of mine are, please let me know more information about your allergies and I will help you to find a tree oil that works for you. Emotionally, cedarwood is the oil of community. So this invites people who live kind of hermetically. I know I tend to do that, especially in the winter months, just kind of like hunker down and go into my shell. It helps you to open up to your support systems and really engage as part of your community. So that's cedarwood. It has a really warm, gentle smell. I feel like the Arbor vitae is a little bit more strong, probably because of those, maybe because it's the monoterpenes. But this is a lovely oil for diffusing at night. Diffusing it with a little bit of wild orange is a beautiful combo, and it promotes a really nice night's sleep. That's cedar wood. Cypress comes next. And Cypress, as you could guess, is part of the Cypress family. It's a conifer also. It smells a little pinier and green. The oil comes from the steam distillation from the branches of the tree. And it is also restoring because of its esters. It's high in alpha pinene. So if you think about a lot of on-the-shelf cleansers that use pines or tree oil scents to make your house feel clean, a lot of times what that is just synthetic toxins that are tricking you into feeling like your house is cleaner than it really is. Diffuse some cypress. It's from the actual tree. It is wonderful for your home. It affects the nervous and skin systems. It can actually help with chronic pain, carpal tunnel syndrome. It's fabulous for oily skin and for lymphatic and prostate decongesting. It is a mucolytic, which means it contains enzymes that break down mucus, similar to the cedar wood. But if you're feeling like you're congested, this would be a wonderful oil to diffuse. It is not recommended to take internally. Something that I know a lot of people might find interesting is that cypress, when diluted, because it is a little tingly, and applied topically to the area of concern, is really effective at treating hemorrhoids. Emotionally, cypress is the oil of motion and flow. It helps with emotional catharsis. I'm looking on my notes. That's why I keep looking down. I am looking at you. It helps with emotional catharsis, creating flexibility and letting go of perfectionism. So again, just like rooting down in what's really true, being able to bend and sway in the breeze and release the greater concerns to nature. This is cypress. Juniper berry. You notice some of them come in smaller bottles like the Arbor vitae, and the juniper berry come in 5 milliliter bottles. I think it's just because it requires more plant material to yield a little amount. If you would like to see more on the process of how essential oils are actually extracted, doTERRA's Source to You website has some awesome information. I'm also going to post a video later of how some of the oils are sourced, and you can find that on YouTube too. So juniper berry is actually a conifer. It's in the cypress family as well, and its scientific name is, its Latin name is Juniperus communis. So that means it's related to the cedar wood that we talked to earlier. But this is steamed from the berries and needles. So I think the berry, the fact that it comes from the berry makes it a little bit more potent of a scent. I think it just smells really clean. I don't think it smells sweet. It smells a little sweet on the end, but piney. It's also a restorative oil, high in alpha pinene. It affects the skin and urinary systems. It's a natural skin toner. It's a detoxifier. It supports healthy kidneys and urinary tract. It heals wounds, and it's also esoterically very protective. When we first moved out here to the Pacific Northwest and started using our fireplace, we were fortunate enough to get some juniper wood to burn, and it is a gorgeous, highly aromatic wood. It's beautiful. It looks like the cedar. It's got the kind of that red tinge. It's red, like red and white, different tones to it. And I remember learning that when you burn juniper, it helps ward off negativity and increases the protection of your home, specifically against theft. So I found that really interesting, just kind of on an esoteric level, that this is the tree that this comes from. And all of these origins, when you talk about these esoteric qualities, are centuries old. So when people ages and ages ago were really studying plants and attuned to what their other properties were rather than just being a tree on the ground. Emotionally, it's the oil of night, which I think is really cool when you think about it being protective against theft when you burn the wood. It helps you learn that what you fear is your teacher. It helps you have courage and feel protected at night and access nighttime communications or dreams to face your unresolved issues. So juniper I like to refer to as like the dreaming oil. It's a great oil to add to the diffuser, especially for little kids if they're having any kind of night terrors, because it offers that courageousness. And then hopefully, a lot of times when you're working through something and feeling upset, it's because something needs to come out. So you can expel it and be done with it. So don't be afraid of the process. That's juniper berry. Now we're going to go into the firs. That was all of the cypress family. Now we're going to talk about the firs. doTERRA used to offer a white fir. They don't anymore, so if you're lucky enough to have your hands on it and you're not sure what to do with it, just reach out to me. But I didn't want to talk too much about it and make people wistful that they didn't have it. The reason why they don't offer it anymore is because it was unable to be continuously harvested at a sustainable rate. And that's probably my favorite thing about doTERRA as a company. They really are dedicated to sustainable harvesting processes, both for the plants and for the farmers. The people that are harvesting these plants and distilling them are in developing countries most of the time. They're paid excellent wages, and the trees are not in danger of being endangered or over harvested. Especially when we talk about the resins, we'll talk a little bit more about that, because the resin actually comes from like a wound in the tree. But anyway, back to the tree oils right now. We're going to talk about Douglas fir and Siberian fir. So Douglas fir, here's my little Doug fir. I love this one. It's piney, but it almost smells kind of lime-like. It's steam from the twigs and needles of the Pinaceae, which is another coniferous tree, and it is an uplifting oil, probably because it has that almost citrus kind of smell. Douglas fir benefits the respiratory systems as well as your muscles and bones. Again, not recommended to take internally, but it can be a sedative and tonic for your nerves. Again, super grounding because it is a tree, and it supports your respiratory function and fevers. It can help restore your body to its natural temperature in a gentle and, again, natural way, and any muscle pain. So this is a great one to add to some Epsom salts if you wanted to soak in the bathtub, if you maybe were suffering with a flu where you felt like you had those respiratory congestion and the physical aches and pains. This would be a wonderful oil to diffuse or take a bath in. Emotionally, it's the oil of generational wisdom. It helps people let go of harmful patterns, increase positive family bonds, and learn from others' experiences like your ancestors. Both of the firs emotionally refer to ancestors and healing, like breaking those old chains. And I find that really interesting about the firs because there's a bunch of them out here too. So I love them. That's Douglas fir. Next, we've got Siberian fir. And Siberian fir is the newest tree oil for doTERRA. They introduced it this past year at convention, again, to replace white fir because the chemical profiles are very similar, and this is super sustainable right now. I believe this one comes from Canada, so again, pretty domestic. It is the steam from needles and twigs, just like the Doug fir. The Siberian fir smells more like what you would expect a typical pine tree to smell like, really like Christmassy and very clean. It's also a restoring oil, high in esters, and the body systems it affects are the musculoskeletal and the nervous and skin systems. This oil is the only coniferous oil that is safe to take internally. I don't know too much about why, but it is. See the little nutritional label right there? This oil is really helpful at soothing anxious feelings, so it's one of my favorites for that. Emotionally, it's the oil of aging and perspective. It offers comfort during times of grief and regret. It helps you assess your life choices and find meaning and purpose in every chapter of your life. That's Siberian fir. So those are my two firs, the Douglas fir and the Siberian fir. And again, the conifers that we talked about were Arbor vitae, cedar wood, cypress, and juniper berry. I'm going to stop here for now and pick back up later this afternoon. We're going to talk about the myrtles, the resins, and then there's 2 other beautiful tree oils that I'd love to share information with y'all about. If you have any questions, drop me a comment below. Thanks for bearing with me and being flexible like the cypress tree. And I'll see y'all later this afternoon. Happy oiling in the meantime.